Good morning. Hello everybody and welcome to some tutorial on a special software I want to present today and give a little insight, which is Embergen, the real-time fluid software from JangaFx. And you might have heard of Embergen. They also gonna create some real-time software like Embgern for real-time landscape creations. And you might also have heard of LiquidGen, which is real-time fluid simulation. So Embergen is a real-time software that calculates the FX on your graphics card, and as you can see here we have some very cool tornado that has been created in real time on the machine here. And Embergen, pretty much you might know it from FumeFX or from Phoenix FD. They use different node selections to address the data flow inside of Embergen. So you can do and create this pretty much in real time, depending on your specifications of your machine. So let's have a look here. We have, for example, here a force, which gives us the noise pattern. And when we increase here the scale, you can see how the scale is also increasing on our tornado here. And let us make this a bit more larger in terms of the height of our tornado. We have here a force line. And this force line defines how large our tornado will rise up into the air. And we have here the line segment length. We enter this to 30 meters. Let's see what we get now. And the cool thing about Embergen is that you really fast and really quick can address your settings and make it very interactive when using different parameters. You can adjust the force of the line, where the tornado is swirling around. So let's do that. We have here the twist strength,
and the faster we set this, the more
the smoke will rotate around this curve. And for our tornado settings here, we will lower this a bit to make the tornado a bit more menacing, because as you might know, very large objects mostly move not so fast, realm of space and time. You can pretty much address here the shape. We have a rounded cone. And we also can change the height here. Let's set it to 100. And you see we get the changings mostly in real time, which is pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun to change and tweak those settings. Then we have here the simulation. This is mostly the heart of our setting and of our simulation, where all the data is been converted into vorticity combustion models, and we can here make even more smoke to make it a bit more heavier and thicker. And you can turn with your camera around your creation there. Let's change the expansion. And then we have our camera, our scene, and we have the possibility to export this as VDB. And as you might know, VDB stands for Volume Database, which means it's a database that stores our values from the voxels here inside a database and helps us to do interchange between different software packages. So you are not limited to Embgern. You can render them as VDB. You also can do rendering inside of Embergen when you go to the render tab. So as you see here, I connected the camera to a render node. Just click the left button on your mouse and you can add colliders, cameras, renders. And you see here our tornado gets into the safe area of our screen. And we can then render this in the render settings here and export it also as flipbooks directly for your game sprite or your Unreal Engine project. But we also can render this as a sequence. We can add here the image size, the number of frames. This is what makes Embergen so interactive and so great to use. I think it's a big jump forward into real-time effects creation with less time and more interaction and more feedback you will get from your settings there. So what I want to show you also, you can not only do tornadoes with Embergen, you can do much more, and let's have a look into this now. So Embergen also ships with a lot of presets that enhance and enable you to use them for your production, for your creations. And they also have model flashes for your gun action. You have also text sand collisions with particles, which is very interesting, as the particle simulation in Embergen is also real-time. So let's pick this wonderful artillery explosion here. And you can see that we have here a very heavy blast and everything is set up, and you can jump right in and change the parameters. So you can also render the particles and get some sparks, which also make a great effect. For example, here the voxel count. What's a little bit of limitation at the moment is that the settings here are limited in terms of your voxel grid, because the simulation then gets so large that you mostly shred your machine or need a super expensive calculation machine. And what's really incredible about Embergen is the upscaling. For example, you can set this to x2 times 3 times 4, but be careful with those settings because it's getting very slow very fast. So let us just take here times 2, and you get here the new voxel and resizing parameters. We apply the new resolution, and you can see now that we get much more detail in our explosion here, which is nice to look and looks pretty intense. Change things like the emitter primitive, which is at the moment a cylinder. You can change the height, maybe something more bigger. You can see that we also have those strikes here, which attack through the smoke. So the particles in connection with explosions So the cool thing about Embgern is also that you can use animated values for your different parameters, like we have here the emitter smoke rate, the additional pressure. Immediately changes the outcome of your element. You can see here we have way more smoke, and the emitter activity is also set it longer. And let's make something about the smoke in general. I think that's way too much smoke. And you can see here that the smoke is still very dense. And we set it way down lower. And now we have a bit more of our blast element. So now we can also change the particles which get pushed here through the volume, the advection of the element. And we can see that this is set to, we get even more and intense streaks. So I will now change the simulation. So back to the particles, and speed scale we set a bit lower, and now they push something different. So another preset I want to show you is this wonderful flamethrower here. When I think back to FumeFX times in 3ds Max, then this is a definitely game changer, because this style here you have back in FumeFX days. You had to wait very long hours, drinking a lot of coffee, singing a lot of songs, dancing a lot in your room. And now there's no more time for this anymore, because everything is simulated so fast and so interactively. And you see how the flames and the flamethrower gets even more massive and longer. So that means that we have to adjust our grid here. And you see how our domain here, our container, is changing. And now we see the flamethrower evolves even more powerful. And you can add even more smoke to the sim to make it more massive. And smoke dissipation we don't want. So you see that now the smoke is very dense, and the whole simulation, yeah, is still very stable. I love Embgern, so good job JangaFx. You're in good company. What you also can do in Embgern is adding in objects. So we see here in our case now, we have here primitives which make up our bunker window from Embgern, the bunker buster, and this goes into a collider. And you can see here the data streams in the collider, that we get nice collisions. So let's play this. It makes boom, puff, there's party inside, everything is heating up. And you see here how this is all done in real time. So it's no trick, no treat. It's all done in real time on this machine here. The upscaling to x2. And now we get even more great detail. It's a bit slower now, but this is not the problem. You also see how everything is colliding with our ground here. And everything is rising up in real time and making boom. And you can then add military comments into your explosion.
Affirmative.
Or
Fire at will. Or fire in the hole. Or friendly fire.
And now let's go back to combustion. We have dissipation also. Also have advanced parameters. We can change oxygen in the fuel. So let's go down to 25. So everything is with less oxygen, burning even more faster, because the fire has no oxygen to evolve. So you might know, fire needs oxygen to live. on Earth, the oxygen planet. Everything needs oxygen, and you could also export this now as a VDB accordingly. So what's also cool now, we can change here the primitive types. And I guess this is converted into an SDF, a sign distance field, which means it's making the collision actually possible. The wall. So let's delete this. Pretty nice stuff. Volcano 1. And here is another great example how you can import meshes like this volcano. You can see here, this is our initiator, a fire starter. And when you put this into your geometry here and simulate everything, you can see that we just get a little fart. What I'm also missing in this software is pretty much a timescale simulator, but you can use the time step here to make it even more slower or faster. But be careful with the time step settings because they change your simulation very drastically. As you can see here. Smaller. Yes, now you can see here how this is exploding. Yeah, that's the future. Future is real time. Future is real time. And last but not least, I want to show you Peter the Puffy Cannon. Some fossil from old medieval times when people started wars against big castles. Let's actually grab this again. And let us adjust the particles. Oh yeah, that's nice. In the simulation we can also generate even more smoke so that we get some menacing cannon burst. Make the flame intensity higher. Expansion. Vorticity we crank up. So now let's see here. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you got some little fascination of this awesome piece of software done by JangaFx, what you can achieve. Join their Discord channel, stay tuned for other releases they have in the near future. Like I mentioned in the beginning, GeoGene and Liquid Gene. It will definitely change the way we work with real-time creations of certain effects elements, and some great addition to your effects arsenal. And thanks for watching. Don't hesitate to subscribe. If you have questions, just throw some comments, and see you soon.